I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired of letting people think they got a chance. This is my show. This is my camera. I run it. Oh!
So we're going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks first. All right. Now, there was a conversation that was had between Milwaukee Bucks owner and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis said that conversation never happened. All right, I'm inclined to believe Giannis over any owner or I'll probably believe a player over any owner. That's just me. All right. But last season, they were 48-34. They lost in the Eastern Conference first round to the Indiana Pacers 4-1. And it just seems like they can never get it going, right? Dame wasn't healthy. Giannis wasn't healthy. I'm never going to let this go because I got a vendetta against Doc Rivers, okay? I got a vendetta against that man going back years, all right? Now, listen to me. We can trace back the origin to the Boston Celtics years, all right? Now, one thing I will say is this about Boston, all right? I feel like they have used that championship ad nauseum. Ad nauseum. Like nobody even looks at that championship the way they talk about it. Okay? But it goes even further than that. The more research and the more basketball knowledge I acquire, you told Tim Duncan at the height of his career, prime, all right, off a championship, you told Tim Duncan in negotiations, your family or whomever cannot be on the team plane. And you had an opportunity to have Tim Duncan, Grant Hill, and Tracy McGrady as your big three. Now, shameless plug, NBA What If, Tim Duncan goes to play with Tracy McGrady in Orlando. Check that video out. I just don't understand how you make that costly mistake. That could have changed the entire trajectory of his career, Grant Hill's career, Tracy McGrady's career, and Tim Duncan's. I mean, we possibly look at Tim Duncan differently if he makes that deal. Because guess what? Tim Duncan is known as the greatest power forward of all time, but we don't include him in GOAT conversations. That could have been the move, right? But, sorry, just went off a little tangent because I cannot stand that man. Last season, 48-34, lost to Indiana in the first round. 11th in the league in offense, 11th in the league in points per game, 12th in defense, 13th in offense, opponent points per game. Now, one thing that I always point out about Milwaukee is this. Giannis is always going to have you in playoff contention. He's not going to have you in the play-in. No. You're guaranteed a top 5 seed if you have Giannis for majority of the season. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to dominate night in and night out. He's the second best player in the league. I don't care what any rankings say, anything like that. Giannis is the second best player in the league behind Nikola Jokic. It's them two, then it's everybody else. They gave up Damian Lillard. Fine. Gave up Brook Lopez. Fine. And I thought they should have did it 2 years earlier. He was old. Pat Connaughton, got him out of here. Fine. You did all of that. And you know for a fact that Giannis is looking around the league like, hey, you know, maybe this opportunity is better for me. Maybe I can make a move and get to this place. You did all of that knowing that he was looking to go elsewhere, and the only thing you brought him was Miles Turner and Cole Anthony. That is an epic fail. Epic fail. I mean, I and you know what? If I'm the owner, coach, GM, I'm expecting Giannis to ask for a trade. I'm expecting Giannis to want out at this point. It makes no sense. It makes no sense for him to want to stay there. And you know what? I'll say this. Don't let him get to South Beach. Don't let that man get to South Beach. On to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this team is extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. Every single year we have this conversation about not the Cleveland Cavaliers, about a Donovan Mitchell-led team. just the Donovan Mitchell-led team, we have this conversation. Last season, 64-18, lost in the Eastern Conference semifinals to Indiana. Also, got to make note, they were not healthy. Mobley had an injury. DG had an injury. And I think Donovan Mitchell went down later in the series with an injury. But, I mean, at some point, it's going to fall apart. All right? It just falls apart every single time. Now, with the Cavs, health has been a factor both postseasons. We got to look at that and be fair. We got to be fair in that scenario. But offensive rating, first in the league. Points per game, first in the league. Defensive rating, 8th. Opponent points per game, 12th. For whatever reason, those numbers made people believe that Evan Mobley should have been the Defensive Player of the Year. Don't know why that's the case, but they felt like he should have been the DPOY. Key losses, Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome off of the bench. I don't know if any other player, when you look at, what was available last season, and obviously Peyton Pritchard got the award, but in my opinion, Ty Jerome was one of the best players off of the bench start to finish. Peyton Pritchard, he got a lot of starters minutes, but Ty Jerome, in my opinion, was that guy. Isaac Okoro, he had moments where he contributed, not too much. Thomas Bryant, great ad, backup big, doesn't have to play 20 minutes a night. He can give you 10 to 15, and then even if you have injuries, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, they go down with an injury, you can plug him in. He's still going to play defense. He's still going to shoot threes. He can stretch the floor pretty well, too. Lonzo Ball is going to be a surprise addition, in my opinion, because he got healthy later in the season when he was in Chicago. Towards the end of the season, he got healthy, started to feel and look like his old self again. I think that is a major pickup for Cleveland. Major pickup. I do wish Imani Bates would have got his opportunity in Cleveland, though. I feel like for whatever reason, they were making him pay the price for whatever took place in college. Whatever that, I'm not even going to dive into that. But you can't give me a reason why he didn't get an opportunity. Off of the bench, he's about, 6'10", something like that. Can stretch the floor. He has a very Kevin Durant-like build. He has a very NPJ-like style. And in the Eastern Conference, that length, you can play Allen, Mobley, and then you add in Imani Bates. They have the longest front court. I mean, take into account OKC, they got Chet Holmgren, they got Hartenstein. Yeah, they would have the longest front court in the NBA with that lineup. Two 6'11" guys, then you got a 7-footer. I mean, now you look at Houston. Now they obviously have that. We'll talk about them later, but I really wish they could have kept Imani Bates. This season, like I said, I think you have to factor in Giannis is in Milwaukee. They're gonna have a top 5 seed guaranteed when he's healthy. He's the most dominant player in the Eastern Conference. I think the Cavs can. I think they can be a number 1 or 2 seed again, because also keep in mind the team in green, they're not gonna be there. So I think the way it's been paid for Cleveland to be in that top spot, they will have to argue with another team that is on this list that we'll talk about in just a minute. Now, we got to talk about the New York Knicks. All right, last season, record 51-31, lost Eastern Conference Finals to Indiana 4-2. Offensive rating, 5th in the league. Defensive rating, 14th. Opponent points per game, 9th. Points per game, also 9th. They fired Tom Thibodeau. And then simultaneously, they add in more depth. It's no secret what one of the biggest issues with the New York Knicks was, what the biggest issue with the Timberwolves was, the Bulls. I still blame Tibbs for what happened with Derrick Rose. So it's no secret what the issue was with New York Knicks. All right? And then we're going into this season with Josh Hart already injured. I don't think that injury is going to be an issue that stretches for the entirety of the season. They're going to nip it in the bud now. Probably give him a rest for the rest of the preseason, possibly get that thing taken care of going into the actual regular season. But hiring Mike Brown, one of the biggest thing that I seen with Mike Brown in Golden State as an assistant and with Sacramento as the head coach, where, I mean, first of all, let's talk about Mike Brown in the sense of the entirety of his career. Okay, he has a great rapport with players. He has the respect league-wide with other head coaches and assistant coaches and front offices. He is a defensive coach that also transitioned into understanding how to run an offense, especially in this time with Golden State, right? So he took that to Sacramento. They have their best season in years. He should still be the coach of Sacramento Kings. I don't know why that happened, but he should still be there. So you have a guy who knows defense, grew into understanding how offenses work in the NBA, especially in today's game. Now you put him at the helm of the New York Knicks. He already spoke in the preseason about pushing the tempo. Those defensive rating numbers, those are going to jump back up where they're supposed to be with a team that has the most. I mean, when you look at the versatility of this roster, yes, you add in Brogdon. Karl Anthony Towns, not a bad defender, right? You still have Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart, Bridges, OG. OG should be more of an elite defender than what we saw last season. I think he's going to be a much better defender under Mike Brown. But you have the defensive versatility of this team. Then you have the ability to where you can switch situations where you can put Brogdon into the game, check him in, put Brunson on the bench, and you don't lose anything defensively, right? So there's a number of different ways this go about. The Knicks have an opportunity, okay? And I don't like speaking too highly of the Knicks, but it's the lesser of two evils between them and the team in green, right? Even with them making the NBA Finals in 1999, day one, right now, as it stands, they have a better chance of winning the NBA championship starting right now, right today. Those odds are better today than they were in the NBA Finals in 99. I don't care what those odds were. This team right now, when you look at the landscape, no team in green. Who knows what's going to happen in Philly? Cleveland, they're going to Cleveland, right? So there's a number of opportunities available to them right now to say the East is wide open. The Eastern Conference, in my eyes, is the Knicks to lose right now. And then I already spoke about, defense, offensively, with them pushing the tempo, having the number of offensive weapons. You add in Brogdon, you add in Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson is like, when you look at J.R. Smith in 2013, 2014, when they had him on the Knicks roster, when he was coming in and only thing he had to do was put the ball in the hole. That's really all Jordan Clarkson has to do. And he put so much pressure defensively. We seen it the other night in the Knicks game. He put so much pressure on you offensively that he's going to be able to drop it off for a couple of assists, kick it out for a couple of assists. So he's going to have to average, coming off the bench for the Knicks, I would say between 12 and 15. And I don't think Mike Brown's going to be having them play 40 minutes every single night. So I think this is a great opportunity for New York to look at. Man, we can win a championship this year. All right. The Detroit Pistons. Now, I want to circle back to some comments I made a couple years ago. All right. It was about 3 years ago. Cade Cunningham's coming into the league. I said, you know what? I think the Detroit Pistons could make the playoffs, and they're going to be, they're going to be one of those teams you don't want to see. I spoke prematurely, but I think they're starting to walk into that, right? They're starting to be that team nobody wants to see in 7 games. I said it a minute ago. The series versus New York, one of the most physical series we have seen in a very, very long time. Very long time. And I'm so glad that we were able to witness that, right? But one thing that consistently bothers me about the Detroit Pistons is, I'm not even going to say the Detroit Pistons. I'll say Detroit in general. When you look at Detroit, you can only have a couple good teams here and there. Like, everybody can't be good at the same time. So the fact that everybody's starting to be good, I mean, the Tigers are playing well. Lions are playing well. All right, now, somebody going to have some give and take, right? Somebody going to have to be the sacrifice. So I'm nervous about the Detroit Pistons going into the season. If they're right, they're going to be good. If they're right. And I mean health-wise, and I mean focus-wise. You see Malik Beasley listed as a free agent still. He had a contract on the table that he was about to sign. That got nixed. We don't even know what's going to happen to him. So mentally, don't know what their where their mindset is as far as that, because they were all cool, they were all close. You lose Tim Hardaway Jr. You lose Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder was a big big important piece because fourth quarter situations, he was for the Pistons what Rondo was for the Lakers, what Rondo was for the Kings, what Rondo was for the Pelicans. You see where I'm going with this, all right? I'm very high on Rajon Rondo, okay? But key losses are those three players are going to have a profound impact because they aren't there. You bring in Duncan Robinson, can shoot the lights out. He's going to give them a lot more space to operate. I want to see Cade and Duren in a more of a pick and roll situation, but they're going to have a lot of space to operate, especially if they bring back Malik Beasley. That's going to be great. The problem here is what Karis LeVert are you going to get? Karis LeVert could be a sixth man of the year consistently. He gets on the floor enough. They put the ball in his hands right away as soon as he checks in. Same thing with Jordan Clarkson, right? Checks in, ball is instantly in your hands. The problem is he doesn't have that consistently to keep going off every single time he steps. He's not a Lou Will type player, which is in this situation. The reason why I'm saying is because that's the type of player they need off of the bench if Malik Beasley is not there. So that's going to be a chink in the armor. I want to see Detroit play a little bit more solid defense. All right, they're aggressive, gritty, you know, that hard-nosed type style of play, but it doesn't always show up in the box score. See what I'm saying? It doesn't always show up there because they're about middle of the pack. I want to see them around that 8, 9, 7 in the league in points per game, opponent points per game, and the same thing with defensive rating. If they can do that, they can be a top 4 seed. Right now, I got them number 6 in the Eastern Conference. Next team, my team, the Miami Heat. All right, last season. Now we seen what happened. All right, we seen what happened with Cleveland. Mollywopped. Okay. All right, we seen what happened with Cleveland. How can I put this? How did it make me feel? How did I feel when I saw that Cleveland series? Pretty much this. That's how I felt watching that Cleveland Cavaliers series. The last couple games, dog walk them boys. All right. Never want to see that again. I don't think we ever will. But let's look at the fact that everything that happened with Jimmy, the locker room issues, the trade, everything that was going on, and you still find a way at 37-45. You find a way to win games on the road with no player like Jimmy Butler, no, defined leader. Tyler Hero goes off. We understand that. Davion Mitchell is one of the biggest bright spots. And if I want to say there's a player, okay, a guard that exemplifies Miami Heat basketball, right? That type of play, right? D-Wade at the 2. Udonis at the 4, Zoe at the 5. I don't know who my 3 would be. Probably Jimmy Butler, but at that point guard position, there's a number of point guards that were better than Davion Mitchell. All right. But Miami Heat basketball, that toughness, that grit, give me Davion Mitchell any day of the week. Give me Davion Mitchell any day of the week, man. 100%. He's a dog. Okay. And we got the young bull coming in from Illinois. So he going to be nice too. Working all day, every day in practice. They already talked about him. Davion and the young boy KP, they going crazy. Going at each other, right? 16th in the league in offense, 24th in points per game. That is our biggest problem. We can play defense, top 10 in opponent points per game and defensive rating. We can guard up. Even with having Tyler Hero, and everybody thinks he's a liability, he's not as big of a liability as people think he is in comparison to other players like Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, and so on and so forth, right? And he can get a bucket. 24, 5, and 5 last season, all-star. I don't even know why they disrespect him the way they did and had him ranked where he was on the ESPN list. Bam Adebayo. Hey, look. Bam Adebayo's in love. Okay? L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than Asia is the one that he adores. All right. Bam Adebayo needs to have a 25-12 season. His girl winning MVPs and Defensive Player of the Year and winning championships and being Finals MVP. Bam need 25-12 this season. All right, 25-12. 25-12. That's what I want out of him this season. Key losses: Jimmy, Duncan, Kevin Love. You add Precious. You add Norman Powell. You now have every single first-round draft pick from 2017 till now. They're all on your team. The problem is, you don't have a guy like UD. You don't have a guy like Jimmy in the locker room. You don't have a guy like Kevin Love. Like, when things get out of hand, like, hey, yo, we need to refocus. Let's reel it back in. Let's recenter ourselves. Then we go on from here. You don't have that guy anymore. UD is only there a couple times, you know, here and there because now he's on TV. So you don't have that guy in the locker room consistently. That is my biggest concern. I think Miami will be a top 6 seed going into the playoffs this year. Now you know there's no Jimmy. Now you know there's no locker room issues. Norman Powell is in the mix now. He's going to add something, and I expect him to have a big impact. Him on one side of the court, Tyler Hero on the other. The ball is going to be swinging. There's going to be a lot of space to operate. I think they're going to play great basketball. Now, the last team we need to discuss, the Orlando Magic, okay? When I look at the Orlando Magic, it's just one of those teams like there's one piece missing. They're one piece away from really going off. I mean, they made the playoffs, obviously came out of the play-in, had success there. I'm pretty sure that Paolo Banchero only played 46 games last year. 46. They won 41 games, went 41-41. He plays 46 games. They make the playoffs, okay? Him and Franz Wagner, if they can stay together, they're going to be just fine, okay? Offensive rating, 27th. Points per game, 28. That's where they need to get better at, because there's a lot of moments where their offense completely and utterly stalls. You can't have that. You can't have that situation, especially in the situation where when you're looking up in the Eastern Conference, when you're looking up in the conference, and the guys up there is Cleveland, New York, the Bucks. I mean, teams like that can still, you know, have spurts where they go crazy, especially from deep, and you don't have a guy like Giannis. Yes, Paolo's, you know, top 5 at his position, in my opinion. Top 5 in his position. But you're not going to be able to hold teams to 105, you know, 105 points and win the game if you're not scoring. Hold them to a 109 defensive rating. I mean, you're not going to be able to do that night in and night out. You do lose Caldwell Pope. You do lose Gary Harris, but you bring in Jace Richardson. Jace Richardson, he's going to be somebody that may not make an impact this year, but I don't think they should give up on him right away. I think he should be allowed to develop, improve every single night. I think he's going to have a tremendous impact on that team down the line. Desmond Bane, his impact needs to be now. I don't think he gave Memphis enough. Now everybody looks at Jaren Jackson, John Morant, like, hey, y'all was supposed to take that next step. I look at Desmond Bane too, because Desmond Bane, I think he was better than what he displayed in Memphis. And I think he needs to be held accountable for more than what he displayed in Memphis, because I think he actually had the potential to be the second best player, not Jaren Jackson. I think he could have, I mean, if John Morant's averaging 25, he needs to be at 20, 23, somewhere around there, and consistently push each other to level up. So now Ja's pushing it 28, Desmond Bane 25. They need to be doing that in Memphis. That's what should have took place. John Morant was talking about, I'm not getting enough touches, I'm not getting enough plays ran for me. Bro, you're not hooping. You're not hooping. Talking about what they're not giving you, you're the best player on the team. Go take it. And then that causes everybody else to increase their level. I just don't think that happened in Memphis. But I do put some of that in Desmond Bane. I think he's going to help with those offensive lulls that I just talked about in Orlando. One thing that's important is that he has the ability to orchestrate. And that's one thing that, I mean, there's a handful of guys in the league. I mean, when I think, you know, two guards that can initiate and run offense as a facilitator, I immediately say James Harden. I immediately say Devin Booker, players like that, right? But I think it's going to benefit even greater for Orlando so that Franz and Paolo don't get caught up in having to play one-on-one every single possession, especially when they get down. But that is all for the Eastern Conference. We'll come back and talk about the West in just a minute.